In recent years, researchers have been made aware of a strange phenomenon that has been at the center of unexplainable events, and leaves many wondering if a far more supernatural component is responsible. Known as the missing 411, there appears to be a substantial number of missing person cases across national parks throughout the United States. Many of these people seem to disappear under extremely odd circumstances. Oftentimes the victims of these disappearances are experienced hikers, and find themselves transported impossible distances completely lost and disoriented. Oftentimes the victims seem to disappear within the span of several seconds, and while surrounded by friends and family within earshot. Regarded as one of the most interesting cases of the missing 411, first reported back on the 3rd of August in 2020, an experienced hiker said to be in his 50s suddenly went missing, despite having been travelling with a group of hikers close beside him. It was at this point that the hiker had been camping and travelling for 6 days, before becoming completely disoriented, and finding himself stranded in the middle of the Santa Fe National Park, unable to find his travel group, or his previous camping location. Due to the environment of New Mexico being one of the harshest of the national parks, the hiker was well aware of the trouble he was facing, and began his journey with the hopes of making it back to a more populated trail, in the hopes that someone would find him. Unfortunately, a previous back injury would begin to flare up, and force the 50-year-old hiker to rest for longer periods of time, before he would unexplainably lose the ability to walk completely. Believing all hope to be lost, the hiker laid by a river and waited for the inevitable. On the 15th of August, a man by the name of John Ötzi was travelling through the Santa Fe National Park, alongside his 2 children, daughter Jocelyn aged 12, and son Jasper aged 10, when he was overcome with a strange feeling of worry that encompassed him. While travelling back down the Window Trail, John noticed that his daughter Jocelyn had moved further down the trail, and shouted at her with a booming voice to return closer out of fear that something bad would happen. It was at this moment that John began to hear the voice of a grown man, and it was coming somewhere from deep within the forest. Sensing that something was wrong, John travelled with his children close in hand deeper into the forest, and began employing an old military strategy, known as call and response. After several minutes of triangulating the man's position, John and his children found the 50-year-old hiker on the ground. He was lying near a creek, an estimated 400 yards off the Windsor Trail, several miles away from the trailhead. During an interview, John would provide the following statement about the encounter. "We got to where we could see him in a clearing. He couldn't move or get up. I asked, 'Are you injured?' and he said, 'I can't move.'" It was at this point that John noticed that the man was not in a safe state, suffering from an unknown form of psychosis, caused by tremendous mental stress and malnutrition. John continued with the following. "It wasn't clear until later that I realised how delirious he was. He was scruffy and ragged looking." John quickly provided the 50-year-old hiker with food and drinks, including power drinks, vitamin water, protein bars and a pack of trail mix, to help him regain his strength. Realising that the distance back to the trailhead was between 12 to 13 miles, John was unsure as to whether or not he would be able to carry the injured man, while also watching over his 2 children. John then told the delirious hiker that they were going back to the trailhead, so they could call and get help from emergency services. With the children in hand, John travelled to the nearest area where he could receive cell phone service, and quickly dialed 911, alerting emergency services to the hiker's GPS location, with the help of his GPS tracker. Emergency services responded almost immediately. Search and rescue teams formed from the Santa Fe Fire Department and went out to the location of the downed hiker within minutes, aided with the precise GPS location gathered by the witness. However, when search and rescue teams reached the site of the creek, they were unable to find evidence of any person having been in the area. Captain Nathan Garcia of the Santa Fe Fire Department provided the statement that the search and rescue teams travel up and down the creek, but were unable to locate the man or any of his gear. After spending a day combing through the area and calling out to the man, they were unable to get a response of any kind. Garcia said, "We searched as best as we could and called out. We did not get any response. I don't know if we didn't hear him or he didn't hear us." After confirming the coordinates with John Utsi, who expressed doubt that the man was in any condition that would have allowed him to move, the search and rescue team was dumbfounded as to the cause of the hiker's sudden disappearance once again. The search was called off at around 10 PM, after spending the entire day trying to locate the man, and did not resume until the following morning. Fearful that his coordinates were inaccurate, the next day John Utsi resumed the search with the emergency services, and traced his path once again using his coordinates, only to find the lost hiker. As it turns out, the GPS coordinates were accurate to such a degree that John was able to locate the hiker, and found him in the exact place he'd left him, providing him with more food and vitamin water. Certain as to his location, John then returned back up to the trailhead and called emergency services once again, this time personally leading them back to where the 50-year-old hiker had reappeared. Scared that the man might disappear again, he rushed the members of the fire department over and continued to call out to the hiker until the team relocated him beside the creek. It became apparent at this point that all the downed hiker's gear was missing, as if someone or something had stolen it. When asked about his condition, John provided reporters with the following statement. He probably slept through most of the days because it was warm enough to sleep, and shivered through most of the nights. He probably had to roll over to drink water from the creek, and then roll back to get away from the cold because he was so weak. The 50-year-old hiker was taken to Santa Fe Hospital, where he was treated under an anonymous name. When reporters attempted to locate the hiker for an interview, the hospital expressed concerns for his safety and claimed to be hiding the man's identity to protect him from the general public. Researchers have expressed concerns that the hiding of the man's identity is evidence of a continued cover-up, saying that missing 411 cases are being covered up, as the hiker could provide insights as to what happened to him and what he encountered. So what do you make of this mysterious event? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comment section below, and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.